Wildwood Clare mentioned in her video Affliction that this is not 1912. So I thought I'd look up the Republican Party platform of 1912, and I'll leave a link below. Excuse me, for those of you who are interested. And I will try to get through this without coughing. This stupid allergy thing has me coughing every time I try to speak, so got a glass of water here. But I think this is very interesting. So this is the Republican Party platform of 1912. The Republican Party, assembled by its representatives in National Convention, declares its unchanging faith in government of the people, by the people, for the people. We renew our allegiance to the principles of the Republican Party and our devotion to the cause of Republican institutions established by the Fathers. Quote, "It is appropriate that we should now recall with a sense of veneration and gratitude the name of our first great leader, who was nominated in this city, and whose lofty principles and superb devotion to his country are an inspiration to the party he honored." Unquote. Abraham Lincoln. In the present state of public affairs, we should be inspired by his broad statesmanship and by his tolerant spirit toward men. The Republican Party looks back upon its record with pride and satisfaction, and forward to its new responsibilities with hope and confidence. Its achievements in government constitute the most luminous pages in our history. Our greatest national advance has been made during the years of its ascendancy in public affairs. It has been genuinely and always a party of progress. It has never been either stationary or reactionary. It has gone from the fulfillment of one great pledge to the fulfillment of another in response to the public need and to the popular will. We believe in our self-controlled representative democracy, which is a government of laws, not of men, and in which order is the prerequisite of progress. The principles of constitutional government, which make provisions for orderly and effective expressions of the popular will, for the protection of civil liberty and the rights of man, and for the interpretation of the law by an untrammeled and independent judiciary, have proved themselves capable of sustaining the structure of a government which, after more than a century of development, embraces 100 millions of people scattered over a wide and diverse territory, but bound by common purpose, common ideals, and common affection to the Constitution of the United States. Under the Constitution and the principles asserted and vitalized by it, the United States has grown to be one of the great civilized and civilizing powers of the earth. It offers a home and an opportunity to the ambitious and the industrious from other lands. Resting upon the broad basis of a people's confidence and a people's support, and managed by the people themselves, the government of the United States will meet the problems of the future as satisfactorily as it has those of the past. The Republican Party is now, as always, a party of advanced and constructive statesmanship. It is prepared to go forward with the solution of these new questions, which social, economic, and political development have brought into the forefront of the nation's interests. It will strive not only in the nation, but in the several states, to enact the necessary legislation to safeguard the public health, to limit effectively the labor of women and children, and to protect wage earners engaged in dangerous occupations, to enact comprehensive and generous workmen's compensation laws in place of the present wasteful and unjust system of employers' liability, and in all possible ways to satisfy the just demand of the people for the sturdy and solution of the complex and constantly changing problems of social welfare. In dealing with these questions, it is important that the rights of every individual to the freest possible development of his own powers and resources, and to the control of his own justly acquired property, so far as those are compatible with the rights of others, shall not be interfered with or destroyed. The social and political structure of the United States rests upon the civil liberty of the individual, and for the protection of that liberty, the people have wisely, in the national and state constitutions, put definite limitations upon themselves and upon their governmental officers and agencies. To enforce these limitations, to secure the orderly and coherent exercise of governmental powers, and to protect the rights of even the humblest and least favored individual, are the function of independent courts of justice. The Republican Party affirms its intention to uphold at all times the authority and integrity of the courts, both state and federal, and it will ever insist that their powers to enforce their process and to protect life, liberty, and property shall be preserved inviolate. An orderly method is provided under our system of government by which the people may, when they choose, alter or amend the constitutional provisions which underlie that government. Until these constitutional provisions are so altered or amended in orderly fashion, it is the duty of the courts to see to it that when challenged they are enforced. That the courts, both federal and state, may bear the heavy burden laid upon them to the complete satisfaction of public opinion, we favor legislation to prevent long delays and the tedious and costly appeals which have so often amounted to a denial of justice in civil cases and to a failure to protect the public at large in criminal cases. Since the responsibility of the judiciary is so great, the standards of judicial action must be always and everywhere above suspicion and reproach. While we regard the recall of judges as unnecessary and unwise, we favor such action as may be necessary to simplify the process by which any judge who is found to be derelict in his duty may be removed from office. Together with peaceful and orderly development at home, the Republican Party earnestly favors all measures for the establishment and protection of the peace of the world and for the development of closer relations between the various nations of the earth. It believes most earnestly in the peaceful settlement of international disputes and in the reference of all justiciable controversies between nations to an international court of justice. Monopoly and privilege. The Republican Party is opposed to special privilege and to monopoly. It placed upon the statute book the Interstate Commerce Act of 1887 and the important amendments thereto, and the Antitrust Act of 1890, and has consistently and successfully enforced the provisions of these laws. It will take no backward step to permit the reestablishment in any degree of conditions which were intolerable. Experience makes it plain that the business of the country may be carried on without fear or without disturbance, and at the same time without resort to practices which are abhorrent to the common sense of justice. The Republican Party favors the enactment of legislation supplementary to the existing Antitrust Act, which will define as criminal offenses those specific acts that uniformly mark attempts to restrain and to monopolize trade, to the end that those who honestly intend to obey the law may have a guide for their action, and those who aim to violate the law may the more surely be punished. The same certainty should be given to the law prohibiting combinations and monopolies that characterize other provisions of commercial law, in order that no part of the field of business opportunity may be restricted by monopoly or combination, that business's success honorably achieved may not be converted into crime, and that the right of every man to acquire commodities, and particularly the necessities of life in an open market uninfluenced by the manipulation of trust or combination, may be preserved. Federal Trade Commission. The enforcement and administration of federal laws governing interstate commerce and enterprises impressed with the public use engaged therein. There is much that may be committed to a Federal Trade Commission, thus placing in the hands of an administrative board many of the functions now necessarily exercised by the courts. This will promote promptness in the administration of the law and avoid delays and technicalities incident to court procedure. The tariff. We reaffirm our belief in a protective tariff. The Republican tariff policy has been of the greatest benefits to the country, developing our resources, diversifying our industries, and protecting our workmen against competition with the cheaper labor abroad, thus establishing for our wage earners the American standard of living. The protective tariff is so woven into the fabric of our industrial and agricultural life that to substitute for it a tariff for revenue only would destroy many industries and throw millions of our people out of employment. The products of the farm and of the mine should receive the same measure of protection as other products of American labor. We hold that the import duties should be high enough while yielding a sufficient revenue to protect adequately American industries and wages. Some of the existing import duties are too high and should be reduced. Readjustment should be made from time to conform to changing conditions and to reduce excessive rates, but without injury to any American industry. To accomplish this, correct information is indispensable. This information can best be obtained by an expert commission, as the large volume of useful facts contained in the recent reports of the Tariff Board has demonstrated. The pronounced feature of modern industrial life is its enormous diversification. To apply tariff rates justly to these changing conditions requires closer study and more scientific methods than ever before. The Republican Party has shown by its creation of a tariff board its recognition of this situation and its determination to be equal to it. We condemn the Democratic Party for its failure either to provide funds for the continuance of this board or to make some other provision for securing the information requisite for intelligent tariff legislation. We protest against the Democratic method of legislating on these vitally important subjects without careful investigation. We condemn the Democratic tariff bills passed by the House of Representatives of the 62nd Congress as sectional, as injurious to the public credit, and as destructive to business enterprise. Cost of living. The steadily increasing cost of living has become a matter not only of national, but of worldwide concern. The fact that it is not due to the protective tariff systems is evidenced by the existence of similar conditions in countries which have a tariff policy different from our own, as well as by the fact that the cost of living has increased while rates of duty have remained stationary or been reduced. The Republican Party will support a prompt scientific inquiry into the causes which are operative, both in the United States and elsewhere. To increase the cost of living, when the exact facts are known, it will take the necessary steps to remove any abuses that may be found to exist in order that the cost of food, clothing, and shelter of the people may in no way be unduly or artificially increased. Now, I'm actually only about halfway through this. There are a number of other provisions here, including the Navy, the Merchant Marine, Reclamation, Rivers and Harbors, Alaska, Philippine policy, and so on and so forth. But I'll leave you this link below where you check out their entire policy of 1912. And I just simply have to say that I think the Republican policy, the Republican platform of 1912 is a damn sight better than the Republican platform of 2012. Thank you for listening. Bye.